welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're live in Abuja. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. Thank you for joining us. We start with developmental issues today as the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has called on world leaders to take into account the principle of fairness which he advocates must be applied by leaders in addressing challenges in health, the economy and other issues. The Vice and other issues. This was at a virtual forum organized by an American institution, the Liberty University, with the theme, Equity for Africa, Transforming the World Through Judeo-Christian Values. The Vice President notes that in building a fairer world that takes into account the interests of the poor, the marginalized, and a world that does not impose unfair burdens on developing countries, it is imperative that leaders be fair to all.
One of the very important things that we want to do, especially those of us in the developing countries that are gas-producing countries, is that we think that it may be unfair to defund gas projects as is suggested by already, as a matter of fact, some of the multilateral institutions are defunding gas projects because they think that this would accelerate the progress towards zero emissions. But we think that a fair transition from fossil fuels to cleaner fuels, or for that matter, to non-fossil fuel based energy, would involve allowing gas projects, especially in countries such as ours, in a phased process, that will lead eventually to only renewable energy.
Speaking on the prospects for greater advancement in Africa, Vice President Osinbajo noted that there was no gainsaying that in order for Africa to actualize its potential, it must work with friends, especially those of faith, to identify strategic opportunities to bring growth and prosperity in the continent. The EFCC Chairman Abdulrasheed Bawa and Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes are synergizing to provide better ways of handling petitions and prosecutions. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu completes the report.
The meeting, which was held in a closed door, came up with the legislative anti-corruption strategy.
Just as Mr. President has requested for special crimes court to prosecute graft cases, and as Supreme Audit Institution, that is the Senate, will also be carrying out investigations and inquiries to expose graft wherever it may be found.
The idea is to strengthen laws that will assist in speeding up the criminal justice subsector.
They made their own observations regarding some things that we have been doing since coming on board, and they are 100% behind us.
Of the issues deliberated on, we are handling forfeited assets for disposal and secondment of staff from ministries, departments and agencies. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
And still staying with the National Assembly, the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service has assured the National Pension Commission that it will interface with key government officials to clear pension liabilities to ensure prompt payment of pensions. This assurance was given at an oversight to the Commission by members of the committee. Over now to Dayo Ogunshola.
The visit was in continuation of the committee's oversight to agencies of government, explaining efforts being put in place by PENCOM to ease the burden of pension liability in Nigeria. Director General of the Commission affirmed that more grants have been covered.
There's also the lack of payment on the pension protection levy. it's not only government that pays that. Government just pays 1% of its total monthly wage bill. PENCOM contributes towards the payment and the operators. So PENCOM has been keeping money aside, and the operators also have been. But it has not taken off because government has not paid its own 1%. So that's another problem.
If I were to be the president, I see agencies being given 11 billion. I think I'll be surprised if they complain. But if I know what is outstanding, then I'll appreciate that 11 billion is a far cry from what should be given. So I think we're going to facilitate this through the leadership.
At the Federal Civil Service Commission, an overview of the Commission's activities was presented, with requests for more legislative supports.
This Commission will appreciate any intervention from this august committee that would increase the size of our capital envelope, as well as streamline the process of appointments, promotion, and discipline of officers into the public service.
Members of the committee raised concerns on issues relating to unemployment, promotion of civil servants, with a resolve for more collaborative efforts. In Abuja, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
A successful fight against drug trafficking and other related drug dealings will in no small way help in reducing funding for insurgency. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed stated this when he granted audience to the chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, General Buba Marwa, retired in Abuja. Anthony Forsen completes the report.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, while commending the NDLEA chairman for the successes recorded in his 3 months in office, said with the rate the agency is clamping down on drug traffickers around the country, there is hope that Nigeria may soon overcome some of the security challenges it is facing.
It is common knowledge that drug money can be used and is being used to finance insurgency and terrorism. A successful fight against drug trafficking will therefore help to deny or reduce funding for terrorism and insurgency.
The minister assured the NDLEA chairman of his readiness to partner with the agency by supporting its drug war with enlightenment and advocacy.
I do not be out of place for the ministry working with the NDLEA to launch a national campaign against drug trafficking and use of illicit drugs.
Lai Mohammed, however, commended General Buba Marwa for raising the bar of the agency, which has attracted global support and commendation in its drug war. Chairman of the agency, General Buba Marwa, told the minister that Nigeria is faced with a crisis of drug dependency, as over 15 million Nigerians are hooked on it.
Recently, I'm happy to say, through our intelligence-based operations, we were able to arrest some of these drug traffickers, one who is Nigerian and another Chadian, who are supplying drugs to the insurgents and the bandits. Those are still with us, and the investigation to get to the root of the trafficking chain is in process.
He said in 3 months, the agency has intercepted drugs and cash worth 75 billion naira, arrested over 2,000 traffickers, prosecuting about 5,000 cases, and secured 300 convictions. In Abuja, Anthony Forsen, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the announcement by Twitter to open its African office in Ghana and not Nigeria is a lesson Nigerians must learn to understand that promoting negativity about one's country always comes with a price. The minister said this in an interview with newsmen in Abuja. Again, Anthony Forsen reports.
Its office in Ghana, it also announced that it is looking into hiring local designers, engineers, marketers as part of its new expansion. When asked of his reaction to the Twitter option of Ghana and not Nigeria, which has 25 million Twitter users as against Ghana with just 8 million, the minister said Nigerians are to be blamed for the negative information they broadcast about the country.
This is what you get when you demarket your own country. The past time of most Nigerians, especially the media, is to find fault with their own country. Most times exaggerate the challenges the country is facing. And at no time was this better seen as during the NSAS protest, where Nigerian journalists, both, traditional and the new media, were trying to outdo themselves in painting Nigeria as a hell where nobody should live, where they all conspired to vilify not just the government, even the people of Nigeria. And I thank God that the last US report has vindicated the government that no single life, that there's no corroboration of any evidence that anybody was killed at the Lekki toll gate, as opposed to what the majority of the media are championing. I think this will teach all of us a lesson, that you have no country but Nigeria. We are not saying that you should not criticize this country, but be fair.
He said nations that attract goodwill is often propelled by the patriotism of its citizens. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The pen is mightier than the sword, so the saying goes, and it is on this premise that an online dialogue on the intersection of the mass media, national security and the civic space was held with a view to mitigating security challenges both on the internet and around the country at large. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports.
Battling insecurity on land, air and sea, Nigeria is also faced with another battle, fake news and hate speech, which can go viral on the internet. Stakeholders at this online summit on security, moderated by former legislator Nena Okiji, agree that this wrongful use of the media needs to be reversed in order to promote peace and unity necessary for security to thrive.
Could destabilize national security and civil space in many developing countries where citizens' orientation is dismal and security agencies do not have the adequate work tools to contend with such crises.
The more than hour-long meeting ends with a call to take a people-centered approach to national security by integrating the three spheres and educating the public about proper rules of engagement while using the internet. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Still on security matters, the Nigerian Air Force has signed a memorandum of understanding with 2 indigenous organizations to promote research and development of local content and reduce over-dependence on foreign technology. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani again has more.
An Alpha Jet undergoing in-country periodic depot maintenance, a service which used to be done overseas, costing the federal government of Nigeria millions of naira. With the directive to promote indigenous technology and patronize local content, the Nigerian Air Force has trained technicians to service its jets and partnered with indigenous companies to produce parts for some of its equipment, a process which is ongoing. Expanding this trend, the Nigerian Air Force is also partnering with the Industrial Training Fund and another organization for the training of personnel and also security systems.
The speech of the Chief of the Air Staff. The collaborative efforts also provide platforms to synergize ideas for innovations that are key to achieving meaningful results, to resolve the technological challenges we currently face in a cost-effective manner.
The memorandum of understanding we have just signed, to my mind, will establish the framework by which our 2 parties will work together in an effort to nurture a cooperative relationship.
The Nigerian Air Force currently has 32 active MOUs with various organizations, agencies and universities nationwide. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
And reducing the use of illicit substances by the youth is critical in the quest to stem the wave of criminality across the country. This is the view of the Chairman, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Muhammad Buba Marwa. Marwa made this comment while on a working visit to the Army headquarters, Abuja, to seek collaboration in the renewed fight against crime and criminality. Buba Marwa noted that the involvement of youth in illicit use of hard drugs is a huge contributor to the increase in criminal activities like terrorism, banditry and kidnapping.
We'll wake up and assemble people to go and kidnap 300 school children. When they use drugs, they are completely irrational. They don't think straight. They are fearless.
The Nigerian Army will continue to support you and collaborate with the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency in your programs and activities. On this note, I want to once again welcome you to Army headquarters. Thank you so very much, sir, and God bless.
The Army headquarters also received the Commandant Armed Forces and Staff College, Jaji, Air Vice Marshal Ebenezer Alade, and the Director General, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim. Both agency heads were at the headquarters to interface and seek partnership with the Army as part of efforts to upscale their operations. The fight against drug and other substances is one of the objectives of the Northern Governor's Wives Forum. Adamu Haruna Adams reports that the Taraba State Governor's wife, Anna Ishaku, has taken the fight to a higher level by constructing and equipping a multi-million naira drug addict rehabilitation facility, which she handed over to the Taraba State Government.
Fighting drug abuse is one of the preoccupations of the Northern Governors' Wives Forum. The forum believes that drug abuse is the underlying factor of virtually all the crimes that bedevil Nigeria at present. Members of the forum made it a point of duty to complement efforts of their husbands by intensifying efforts towards stamping out drug abuse in their respective states. Taraba State's Governor's wife, Anna Darius Ishaku, through her foundation, Hope Afresh, has been waging the war against drug and other substances abuse. Construction of the multi-million naira drug addicts rehabilitation facility at the State Specialist Hospital with support of some development partners could be said to be a culmination of her commitment.
Handing over of the rehabilitation center to the state government is for sustainability, as it may be the only center throughout the Northeast.
The facility was inaugurated by Taraba State Governor Darius Dixon Ishaku in presence of Northern Governors' wives.
I'm hoping that you will commission more, and by the time you have done all the 19 states, will have a functioning rehabilitation center.
It is our mission that every state will have at least one functioning drug rehabilitation center.
The 14-bed facility replaces an existing facility known as Hope Health Center, also established by the Taraba State Governor's wife. In Jalingo, Adamu Harun Adams, NTA News.
And we are not done with security matters, as the new police is set to address the fundamental issues affecting professional service delivery by breaking away from the traditional policing approaches and imbibe modern practices to restore citizens' trust. Thus were the opening words of the Acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba Alkali, at a maiden conference with strategic commanders of the force. Francis Fom has that.
The new sheriff in town is not new to these top police commanders. Usman Baba Alkali did not waste time in reading out where and how the force will operate henceforth.
The policing vision of my leadership shall be to restore police primacy and bequeath to the nation a modernized, citizen-led, rule-of-law-guided and professional police force that Nigerians can truly trust.
As the lead agent transparency in internal security. The acting IGP explains that the task of rolling back this unacceptable security tides rests primarily on the force. Hence, the need to reorder the policing vision, re-evaluate strategies is now.
We will develop and entrench operational protocols to standardize and regulate our operations in line with best global practices. Such protocols will be utilized to review the professional conduct of our officers and engage to hold them accountable in the event of complaint by citizens.
Meanwhile, the acting IGP ordered the immediate reform of the IGP monitoring unit, which involves the disbandment of the satellite offices of the unit in Lagos and Port Harcourt, the streamlining of the personnel profile of the units at the force headquarters to not more than 50 operatives, as well as the banning of the units from undertaking criminal investigations, including taking over cases from the state commands. Francis from NTA News.
The Ogun and Anambra state governments have restated commitment to continue partnership with the Nigerian police force to improve security of lives and property. The governors stated this during a visit to the acting Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba Alkali. Again, Francis Fong.
One from the southwest and the other from the southeast, but both are seeking collaboration at the center. Governors Dakpo Abiodun and Willie Obiano of Ogun and Anambra states brought the security concerns in their states before the new helmsman. Ogun State has in the last few weeks grappled with kidnappings, which the force responded, while Anambra State is also grappling with some security challenges. They hope their handshake with the acting IGP Usman Baba Alkali will secure a firm resolve to rid the states of crime and criminality.
So this meeting created an opportunity for me to share my thoughts with him, for him to also reassure me of his very deep knowledge of the state. And I assure the CIG that the state government will continue to support the Nigerian police because that is the established authority for law enforcement.
I support the Nigerian police working for me in Anambra fully with equipment like vehicles, and other logistics that they require to make them effective. I also try to raise their morale.
The acting IGP reiterated police determination to confront crime and criminality with all vigor to make the country safer. Francis from NTA News.
And it's time to join Asmao in our Sokoto Network Center for more reports on Nationwide. Hello, it's over to you.
Hello, Hawa. Good evening and welcome to Sokoto. Kebbi State Government has pledged to support the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission to ensure power stability and lasting solutions to ecological problems in the state. Deputy Governor of the state, Samai Leon Bedabai, gave the assurance when he received members of the commission in Birnin Kebbi. Abdullahi Umar Ilelo reports.
Receiving members of the commission, the Deputy Governor Samaile Ombedabai said the state government has assured stability of electricity supply, which has increased investment in the agricultural sector in the state. He assured the commission of the state government support to redress ecological problems in the state. At the Emir of Gondu Palace, the chairman of the governing council, Joseph Tafa, said Kebbi State is one of the catchment areas, assuring the Emir of addressing the ecological problems faced by the state.
Our task basically, just as I said, is to ensure that we alleviate the living conditions of communities around the hydroelectric power dams.
The Emir of Gondu, Dr. Muhammad Ilyasu Bashar, commended President Muhammadu Buhari's administration for ensuring takeoff of the commission in response to the plight of the riverine communities affected by the construction of hydroelectric dams. Also, the Emir of Yaouri, Dr. Zayano Abdullahi, said he was aware of the act establishing the dam, which spelled out special projects such as inland port, ring road, dredging of River Niger, and small boat industry for the affected communities, which none has been done if not for President Muhammadu Buhari, who put up the courage setting up the commission. Similarly, the Emir of Argungu appealed to the commission members to be diligent and identify with the challenges of Kebbi State. The managing director, Abakar Sadiq Yalwa, assured of the officials' resolve to justify confidence reposed on them by the president.
For instance, if you look at the states that, the communities that provide NEPA with the water resources to generate its power, some of them don't even have electricity. Even those that have, they are being overcharged. We are therefore established to provide Sokoto, to seek for Sokoto.
The visitors have since left Kebbi State. From Benin Kebbi, Abdullah Omar Ilalu, NTA News.
Zamfara State Government has procured more than 180,000 bags of assorted foodstuffs for distribution to the needy in the spirit of the 2021 Ramadan fast. Governor Bello Muhammad, who flagged off the distribution of the items in Gusau, also said more than 2,500 Ramadan feeding centers have been established across the state. Jamilu Ibrahim has more.
Zamfara State Government annual custom of distributing foodstuffs to the needy during the holy months of Ramadan received a boost this year with the procurement of 182,000 bags of assorted food items, including rice, beans, millet, maize and sugar, representing 100% increase in the number of items distributed last year. Governor Bello Muhammad, who flagged up the distribution of the foodstuffs at the Government House Gusau, also announced the establishment of a Ramadan feeding center at each of the 2,516 polling units across the 40 local government areas of the state.
The Ministry for Local Government and Community Development will be collaborating with the 40 local government council chairmen to establish additional feeding centers in each of the local government areas in the state.
The governor said similar gesture will be extended to civil servants in the state, emphasizing the need for the well-to-do Muslims to spend more on charity during the holy month, in line with the teaching of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Similarly, the governor has launched the distribution of food items, clothing materials and cash to 40,000 orphans from across the state ahead of the 2021 Eid al-Fitr festivity. The chairman of the State Zakat and Endowment Board, Professor Kabiru Umar Jabaka, assured that the items will reach the targeted beneficiaries. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
And that's it from here. It's back to Hawa for more news. Good evening.
Well, Asmao, and it's time to take a break. Nationwide returns shortly. Thanks for rejoining us. It's Nationwide, and today is World Arts Day, observed every 15th April to, among other things, promote development and diversity, especially as it relates to cultural creativity and innovation. As the world marks the day, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim looks at how arts promote national stability and cohesion in the face of security challenges.
Thanks, Hawa. Now, it is an established fact that Nigeria's diverse culture remains its greatest asset, from the north to the south, east and west, with a rich cultural heritage that binds the people. Now, the country is also renowned for rich artworks in the form of cuisines, fashion, and even paintings, which could be a unifying factor. Now, joining me is Michael, who will tell me more about art as a unifying factor. Many thanks, Michael. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, how can we use art now to promote peace in Nigeria especially?
Basically, you cannot separate art and peace. A beautiful piece of artwork will always transmit peace in the minds of the people. That's why when you look at Nigeria, you'll know that we have so many ethnic cultures in Nigeria. But the one thing that brings them together is art. And when we talk about art, we are talking about expression. It could be through any medium. Like if this is like mirroring the society, you can easily do that through pictorial composition. And whoever looks at it immediately will get to understand what you're talking about. This is when we talk about visual impression. That could be translated into another form of art in fashion, in cuisine and all that. So basically, art, you cannot separate it from peace.
Okay, so now as a people now, how can we promote that among ourselves?
How can we promote art?
Yes.
It's by way of translating the rich cultural heritage to the younger generation so that they will know that a lot of work needs to be done to unify Nigeria, because we have so many ethnic cultures in Nigeria, and we have to come together.
Okay, thank you very much for that. One common message on the lip of many as the world celebrates Art Day is the need to build a stronger Nigeria devoid of insecurity, given that the citizenry are known for ethical act of promoting love, peace, unity, tolerance, and hard work. It's over to you, Hawa.
Very well, Salwa. And I am now being joined in the studio by Stephen Eruada. He is an artist, a painter to be specific, and he also owns an art gallery here in Abuja. You're welcome to Nationwide.
Thank you very much.
Talking about art, what exactly are we really talking about here? Is it just a visual, literary, or what exactly are we talking about?
When you talk about art, art is a compound word that encompasses both visual, performing, and literal. So where the area I belong is the visual art, which has to do with expression through illustration. Okay. When I mean expression through illustration, you are talking about you picking a culture, try to marry with another culture, you interweave it.
Talking about marrying a particular culture with others, my colleague there talked about our current situation.
Yeah.
We are in a situation where security, to an extent, is compromised. So how can this art be applied for national cohesion and stability?
Let me draw an analogy, an example from the thing I saw in China when I visited Beijing. When you go to the national square in Beijing, you will see when the liberation soldiers fought the war. They have a sculptural piece that run into details from the beginning to the end. Because what the art does is that it keeps the history together. Where it's not enough to write. But you know, there are people who cannot read. But when they see an illustration, they can relate to what you are talking about. There is no amount of what you tell to them, they will understand. But when they look at those illustrations or those pictures or sculptural works that has to do with what you are trying to tell them, they will be able to relate and be able to understand what you are talking about.
Okay, we live in a new normal,
Yep.
a situation which is completely different from what we had before, a new way of doing things. How can art be used to make this new life kind of easy for us?
If you remember, in the beginning of creation of man, art is one of the tools that have been used for me as a means of communication. I don't know whether you've read about the cavemen. How were you able to dictate? Oh, sorry. To dictate.
Just go. Go on.
How were we able to know that these men were in the cave? Is it not through the drawings we saw on the walls of those caves? Sometimes you see a hunter chasing an animal. Sometimes you see a farmer carrying a bow. This is the only way you can relate with the people as of that time. Now we have a new norm. What is the new norm? Insecurity in the nation. And I always tell people that insecurity to every nation is part of growth. Our security outfit will be better off at the end of this situation we find ourselves. Because now they will be able to advise other nations that this is the way to go about it. So you find an artist now can pick up the issue of insecurity now, illustrate it in the way you and I will not be able to see it, because the artists see things in a different perspective.
For interpretation in the future, to enhance the
Yes, that is the way, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eruada, for coming to Nationwide.
Thank you.
And we are not done, as we now join Jennifer in our Lagos Network Center for more reports on the subject.
Thank you, Hawa. Now, Nigeria today is joining the global community to mark World Art Day. This is because art is powerful and a medium of communication that is also haven, loaded with benefits to humans and societies. Now, to celebrate the importance of relevance of arts, UNESCO dedicated 15th of April as the World Art Day. Now, artist Richard Izege sheds more light on a genre of arts that gives hope to many in a creative way. Art to some might just mean painting on canvas, pictures, sculptures, literary works, or drama, but it goes beyond that. Art is a motivator, and that inspirational oil that loosens ideologies and locked up minds. It is also succor to many and window of better understanding to the world's most complex issues. The ability of art to combine imaginary world with reality helps many see life from different perspectives and appreciate it more. Richard Izegbe is a graphic designer and painter. He says art is not just helping him to add value to lives, but enhancing his.
Art gives you this awesome and amazing feeling when you have an imagery in your mind and you are able to recreate it with the use of your colors, your brush, your pencil, and bring it to reality for people to see. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria, and to a large extent there is diverse cultures and the traditions that we have in Africa has greatly influenced my works.
World Art Day is a celebration of fine arts. It promotes awareness on creativity worldwide. It is also used to mark Leonardo da Vinci's birthday, seen as the symbol of world peace, freedom of expression, tolerance, brotherhood, and testament of the influence of fine arts. And I must also add, during the heat of the COVID-19 pandemic, art was succor to many. And now to the economy. The federal government has been advised to check the inflationary trend, which is affecting the lives of Nigerian masses and reducing their purchasing power. President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Toki Mabogunje, who gave the admonition, observed that insecurity, low agricultural yields, among other factors, have affected investment and job opportunities. Samuel Johnson reports.
President of the LCCI observed that the CBN Naira for Dollar scheme aimed at boosting dollar inflows impacted positively on the economy, but emphasized the need to extend the privilege to other sources of foreign inflows. While acknowledging the fears of Nigerians, the chambers noted that full deregulation of the petroleum downstream sector is a better option to pool resources to develop the real sector and generate job opportunities for Nigerian youths.
The chamber notes the further increase in unemployment rate from 27.1% in the second quarter of 2020 to 33.3% in the final quarter. The recent labor market statistics highlight the underlying growth challenge as the economy has not expanded fast enough to create vast opportunities of employment, especially for our youth.
The inflationary trend is also of concern to the chamber in its quarterly assessment of the economy. This, it says, should be checked by addressing the problem of insecurity, which has adversely affected the purchasing power of Nigerian masses.
We must address the issue of security so that the farmers can go back to their farm and increase output. Our farmers have complained sometimes because some of these products are coming from remote locations across the country and the big markets are in the cities. Sometimes the cost of transportation is almost as high as the cost of the products themselves.
The LCCI president emphasized the need for states to emulate the federal government in strategic revenue growth initiative. In Lagos, Samuel Johnson, NTA News.
Now back to Howard in Abuja for more on Nationwide. Howard, I hope you have a painting at home. If not, get one after today.
Sure, a lot of it, you surprisingly, Jenny. Thank you so much. And the federal government has approved the activation of new SIM registration with mandatory NIM in line with the revised National Digital Identity Policy for SIM card registration. A statement by the technical assistant to the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Femi Adelui, says this is in line with the Nigerian Communications Act 2003. It notes that on behalf of the President, Muhammadu Buhari, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Pantami, led the development of a revised National Digital Identity Policy for SIM card registration in collaboration with all other stakeholders. The statement adds that Dr. Pantami also presented the revised policy to the President on Friday, the 26th of March 2020, and was commended for championing the NIM SIM registration process. The minister wishes to thank Nigerians for their patience and compliance with the federal government's directive on the NIM SIM registration exercise. He reiterated government's commitment to continually taking decisions aimed at easing the pains of the citizens with regard to issues related to NIM and SIM registration. And it's time to join Jenny in our Port Harcourt Network Center. Hello, Jenny. You're on.
Thank you very much, Howard. Good evening and welcome. The River State Cassava Processing Company has presented to the State Executive Council the first set of cassava flour produced by the company. The presentation was made by the Managing Director of the company, Ruben Gierson, during the meeting of the State Executive Council presided over by Governor Yeson Wike at Government House, Port Harcourt. Ogedinyekwe reports.
After several challenges that confronted the River State Cassava Processing Company, the company has finally commenced operations. Located at Afam in Oyibo local government area, the company is to revolutionize agriculture in the state, create jobs for the teeming youth, and provide food security. The management of the company, led by its managing director, Ruben Gessin, were at the State Executive Council meeting to update the Executive Council on the state of affairs of the company and present the first products of the company to the governor.
Today, we have a factory that is operable, that can provide 3,000 farmers on a yearly basis with a steady income by buying of the cassava tubers. Your Excellency, you have provided a very stable form of income. It will give sustainability to the rural parts of River State.
The managing director also suggested an aggressive awareness campaign that will publicize the company to the world. Governor Wike said the state government is not playing lip service with its diversification policy, especially with the federal government policy on cassava flour.
3,000 farmers is not easy. Whatever the company requires, will give them all the necessary support.
He said the project will be inaugurated during the anniversary celebration of his administration. In Port Harcourt, Ogedinyekwe, NTA News.
And that's it from Port Harcourt. Nationwide continues with Hawa after the break.
Well, we will be taking that break later. For now, the Minister of Power, Saleh Mamman, has assured Nigerians that relevant agencies in the ministry are working assiduously to fix technical problems in some affected power plants that resulted to shortage of electricity supply in parts of the country. While regretting the inconveniences the power shortage has caused, the minister says he is optimistic that the national grid will bounce back to its peak of 5,600 megawatts of electricity earlier achieved at the beginning of the year. Recall that parts of the country have been experiencing power shortages as a result of breakdown of some power generating plants for reasons including gas constraint. The Minister of Power assures that all the challenges will soon be rectified. And Agatha in our Benin Network Center is now ready for us.
Thank you, Hawa. Welcome to Benin. The thrills and excitement in the last 2 weeks of the 20th edition of the National Sports Festival Edo 2020 ended with the colorful closing ceremony Wednesday. But what are the views of the people about the event amidst COVID-19 fears? Paul Omukago tells us.
The curtains were finally drawn as athletes from different parts of the country went back to their respective states. The festival, originally billed to hold in 2020, suffered several postponements as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the successful hosting of the Sports Fiesta in 2021 was attributed to the resilience of the government and people of Edo State.
The governor promised that he was going to put in massive infrastructure that will challenge every state in this country. He has lived up to his promise because the infrastructure put here within the short span of time and even with the challenges on ground, including COVID, I think I am not disappointed at all.
New records have been set, old ones broken, but my challenge is the sustainability of these various participants. Over the years, we've had situations like this where various athletes have done incredibly well, and after the events, they are just pushed to the side.
What I've seen so far impressed me, particularly the facility provided and the discovery of some of these new athletes.
They described the festival as unique and served as a rallying point for the youths to meet, make new friends, and share ideas, as well as compete under a peaceful atmosphere. In Benin, Paulo Mukago, NTA News.
That's it here. Hawa, over to you for the rest of Nationwide.
Sure, Agatha, and more sports with Kene Imabodike.
We begin with handball, where Kogi State male and female teams are not relenting in their bids to compete for honors in the National Pro League after their heroics at the 2019 Division 1 Championship in Kaduna. Chairman, Kogi State Handball Association, Saidu Jibril, disclosed this while affirming ongoing grassroots developmental programs in the confluent state.
If you go to Ida today, handball is the #1 sport. If you go to Kabawokun today, I think handball is the #1 sport. You recently under 18 and 21 concluded you have so many co-guys who played for other states. So that shows that we are growing in the game of handball.
In football, Super Eagles striker Paul Onuacho's 27 league goals this season for Belgian club Genk has earned him a spot in the top 10 of the European Golden Boot race. The 26-year-old currently sits in the 9th position on the charts with 40.5 points. Another Nigerian, Simi Wankwo, who plays for Crotone in the Italian Serie A, sits in the 21st position with 32 points, having scored 16 times this season. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola wants his team to remain focused after they edged out Borussia Dortmund 4-2 on aggregate to reach the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League, where they face Paris Saint-Germain on April 28 as Real Madrid tackled Chelsea on April 27. The citizens are leading the EPL league and will face Chelsea this weekend in the FA Cup semi-finals before playing Tottenham in the Carabao Cup final on April 25. Meanwhile, a senior Japanese ruling party official, Toshihiro Nikai, says cancelling this year's Olympic Games in Tokyo remains an option if the coronavirus crisis persists. The Tokyo Olympics Organizing Committee, however, responded with a statement saying all those involved in preparing for the Games remained fully focused on hosting them in the summer. With sports update, Kenen Ima Abodike, NTA News.
And sports wraps nationwide today. Thanks for watching, but remember, here at the NTA, we stand against rape and rapists. Please join us in this fight. Good evening, I'm Hawa Salihu Adama.